been a year or two, right? Or is that just the time we spent at Daytona International Speedway? I'm Ryan Pritt. That's Ken Willis. We are
Hey,
at the Daytona Motor Mouths. And we are back after a long layoff and what was a long week at the Speedway. Ken, did you finally get rested up and caught up there?
Oh, it's fine. I didn't do any heavy lifting, and compared to the Rolex, any race is short.
That's a good way to look at it. And in case you haven't looked out your window today, that weird yellow thing up in the sky up there, I think that's the sun. I haven't seen it for a while, but it does still exist, so that's good.
Yeah, it's not often we have. Never that I know of, never had Saturday and Sunday rained out on the last weekend of the Speedweek. So that was a new one. They've done everything. It's well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what they might have in store next time, or in August for that matter.
Well, let's start here. Once they did hit the track, what was your biggest takeaway from the weekend?
That nobody can drive at Daytona anymore for any length of time. And in retrospect, the Cup cars, the 500 had about 180 clean laps.
Yep.
The only two cautions after that early wreck, the only two cautions until right near the end were for stage breaks. So, but then in retrospect, I did a little reading and heard a lot of griping about guys doing fuel mileage strategies. So they were apparently keeping their noses clean on purpose. Now that doesn't mean they always do that, because all it takes is one bump or one bobble, but they were able to do that for the longest period of time. And then toward the end, predictably, they started running into each other. And then when you look at the ARCA, trucks, and Xfinity races, that's all they did. So it just became just one big, wreck fest out there for the long weekend. And it does get you wondering just how sustainable is this every time they go to a plate race, which, by the way, they got one again this week in Atlanta. And then you got, 6 now on the year, 2 each at Atlanta, Daytona, and Talladega. I mean, that's a lot of equipment and a lot of sheet metal to buy. And I don't know how I guess they budget for it, but it just blows me away how predictable it has gotten. It's gotten worse. Instead of getting better, it gets worse.
And to your point, I was looking at some things yesterday. The longest green flag run in the truck series was 12 laps. Pretty
I must have missed that. I don't know where I was, because I never saw him go more than a half a dozen.
Well, you got to remember that race was Friday night. I looked over. I think you were napping there about lap 8, and I didn't want to wake you up. So, but between that, the truck and the ARCA doubleheader, we tore up some race cars that night. I would like to see the grand total of money that had to be spent on repairs on those vehicles, or scrap heaps, I'm assuming. So.
Yeah, you can fill a lot of recycling centers with what they had swept off that track.
Well, a couple of weeks there before the 500, you and I got together and did a list of driver power rankings. And I hope all of you guys watching here got to look at that. And you're laughing because I assume I'm about to bring this up, but you just blatantly disrespecting William Byron with a 9th place ranking. I believe I had him 3rd. Are you ready to apologize now, or will you wait even longer for that?
No, didn't you see where we ranked Alex Bowman, and he finished 2nd in the 500? Haven't you? Surely by now that, should Ricky Stenhouse have been ranked 1st? He won the 500 last year. You're putting a little too much credence on winning the Daytona 500. Granted, William Byron is going to he's going to win more races this year, and ranking him 9th as I did was probably a little lower than most people would rank him, but I don't apologize, because look at the 8 guys I ranked ahead of him. And I don't know where his average ended up, on the master list. I don't know where we ended up ranking him. Where was he? 5th?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Which means you ranked him too high. I ranked him too low, and he ends up probably about where he should be, 5th.
Well, what if I throw this stat at you? Okay. In the last 35 NASCAR Cup Series races, William Byron has won 20% of them. That's 1 in 5.
Okay. Well, the, other than Daytona, has any of the others been plate races? No.
Actually, not to go too far ahead of ourselves here. The last time the Cup Series visited Atlanta, William Byron, your winner.
All right, so 2 of the 5 have been plate races.
2 of the 7.
2 of the 7.
He's won 7 of the last 35 races. He has won 1 in 5.
That's a whole other kettle of fish.
1 out of 5. 1 out of every
Dang it,
5
ninth.
Cup Series races.
Jesus,
And
what
you
was I thinking? Ninth. My God.
and 35 races is one short of a full season. So, I mean, the dude is winning, and it's at a lot of different racetracks. And, I think probably everyone's heard this now. I think it was Bob Pockers that asked it about being the other guy in that organization, right? Because you have arguably the world's best race car driver in Kyle Larson, and you have arguably the world's most famous NASCAR racer or auto racer in Chase Elliott. So, and I think Williams said that fueled him. So how do you judge him in the hierarchy of that organization? It's a pretty good problem old Rick Hendrick has over there right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously good. I mean, the William Byron issue is that there's, and it's no fault of his own. He seems like a perfectly nice young fella, but there's just the star power doesn't come oozing from him like it does from Chase Elliott and from others. And frankly, it really doesn't from Kyle Larson either, except for the fact that he is so good and he climbs into other styles of race cars and does so well. And that this year he's going to attempt the Indy 500. And so there's your star power, your sex appeal, or whatever you have that William Byron just, doesn't, again, I shouldn't pick on, I don't mean to pick on him, but he just does not, generate. I don't think he sells a lot of tickets compared to the others.
Well, in fairness, if Chase Elliott was Chase Johnson, would he be a star either?
Chase Johnson, that'd be quite a stage name. No, he would not. But a lot of these second and third generation racers, I mean, they would have never, fair or not, they would have never gone beyond Barberville and New Smyrna Speedway if not for not just their names, but their connections. But yeah, so I don't know what to say. I mean, all right, William Byron should have been ranked higher than ninth in my list, but at least we got him pretty much right when we averaged it out, and he ended up fifth. I think that's serviceable, I would say.
The folks that know they were going to tune in to watch us argue for 10 minutes, but as you guys could tell, we spent way too much time together over the last week. Ooh, so still hashing some of that out. Yeah. Aside from that, quickly, any other drivers, teams stick out to you? Obviously, that's a different kind of racing. So is there anything you can take away from performances or strength this week?
I like you picked Corey LaJoie as kind of your you thought we were going to have a fourth straight surprise winner or borderline surprise. You can't really have a surprise winner at a plate race. I'm looking at him to be really good this week in Atlanta. He's been there before, had a good chance to win one there a couple of years ago. And the whole Spire team is, and not just because I did an article on on their stepping up of their effort and everything new that's going on with them, but I'm going to keep an eye on them through the first month or two, and as well as a few others. The Stuart Haas team is going to be interesting to watch these first 6 or 8 weeks and see how they get out of the box, considering how they did last year, which was not well.
You stepped on my toes a little bit. I took Corey LaJoie for this race this weekend, which is a perfect segue into it, right? Last week, remember, I am on the I will take Brad Keselowski in the Daytona 500 until he retires train.
Yeah,
we were almost there, baby. We were passing for the lead with 8 laps to go, and then typical Keselowski luck kicked in. But he's going to get that thing one of these days.
I think no matter who you pick, there was a time in that race when you felt like you were almost there.
That's true too.
Says a guy who had a bankroll rolling on Daniel Suarez, who had the lead with 10 or 12 laps left. So
we're so close to having a different kind of podcast today. Yeah, you touched on it a little bit there. LaJoie, certainly a good dark horse this week. The last 2 years in this event, the spring Atlanta race, 4th and 5th. And then in 22, in the summer race, that was the year he led 19 laps before Chase Elliott got him at the end. If you want to look at driver averages, career, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, 1-2, just over 11. Those two each have a win. Among active drivers, Kyle Busch, Keselowski, and William Byron each have 2 wins here. That's the most. So who you liking this week? Who you watching other than Corey, I guess?
Yeah, I think if there's going to be a surprise winner, I like LaJoie. Next up, I really think Bubba's going to be right there again because he loves the plate races, and he manages somehow. He has a knack for avoiding, the issues. he's got one of the, he's like David Pearson used to be able to avoid issues when everybody else was having them. Of course, he didn't race in the plate race era either. That's Bubba, LaJoy, and on the favorite side, the lower odds, Chase, I would think.
How about
Anyone else
Chase
I can name?
Elliott? How about Chase Elliott to snap the skid at his virtual home race? What a
Yeah,
storyline that would be, right?
yeah, it wouldn't be
Good,
bad. Wouldn't be bad for NASCAR.
good track for him. By the way, Joey Logano did win this race last year, and by the way, he's still pretty good at plate racing. I thought he may have had the best car in the field on Sunday. So,
Yeah.
all things to look for. Anything coming up in the world of golf, real quick, that we need to compete against this weekend? Where are we?
They're in the World Golf Championship event, I think, that's down in Mexico City this week. So it looks like you'll have so we'll be able to play the which was more exciting, NASCAR or golf game next week, I do believe. We'll be able to do that.
All right. Well, there's something for everyone to be on pins and needles about for next week. So that's where we'll leave you on that massive cliffhanger there. And yeah, I'm Ryan Pritt. That's Ken Willis. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
All righty.